Far from Moscow, in the wilderness of Siberia, a quiet transformation is underway. Massive infrastructure projects, strategic ports, and private investment are reshaping the Russian Far East. It's not just about development, it's about survival in a post-sanctions world. But can this remote region handle the pressure? Today we reveal the truth behind the headlines. Stay tuned, and be sure to subscribe for more straight-talking global content. Russia's Far East may look empty on a map, but beneath its surface lies a resource trove that could reshape Russia's industrial future. One of the crown jewels of this region is the Elginskoye coal deposit, located in the Sakha Republic, also known as Yakutia. This isn't your average coal field. It holds a staggering 2.2 billion tons of high-quality coking coal, a key ingredient in steel production. This deposit is vital for Russia's steel and construction sectors, both domestically and in export markets. But here's the problem. It's buried deep in a remote, frozen wilderness, where moving bulk commodities efficiently has always been a logistical nightmare. Enter the Pacific Railway. To overcome this challenge, Elgogol, the mining firm that owns the Elginskoye field, launched the construction of the Pacific Railway, a privately funded, 531-kilometer-long rail line that will link the coal deposit directly to the Sea of Okhotsk. Specifically, it connects the mine to the new Elga coal port, an export terminal purpose-built for this project. The goal? To move 30 million tons of coal per year, reducing dependence on congested Soviet-era rail corridors like the Trans-Siberian Railway. Construction began in earnest in 2022 and is expected to be completed by 2025. Once operational, it will slash transport times and dramatically cut the cost of getting coal from the heart of Siberia to energy-hungry Asian markets. But the vision doesn't stop there. Seeing the potential for surging demand, Elgogol is already laying down a second track, doubling the line's capacity to 50 million tons annually. This ambitious expansion means Russia could soon rival top global coal exporters like Australia and Indonesia in serving Asian steelmakers. And the ripple effect is even broader. By easing pressure on the overburdened Trans-Siberian line, which handles everything from timber to oil to consumer goods, the Pacific Railway adds flexibility to Russia's entire national logistics network. In fact, the Kremlin views this project as a model for private sector participation in infrastructure, something Russia has traditionally lagged in. Moreover, the railway isn't just about coal. It could evolve into a vital freight artery linking regional mining towns and industrial hubs with the Pacific coast. If fully integrated with ports and customs systems, this corridor could also support future exports of rare earths, timber, and metals. But as you might expect, building railroads through frozen mountains and swampy taiga doesn't come cheap or easy. Engineering teams have had to contend with permafrost, extreme temperature swings, and limited construction windows during the short summer months. And all of this unfolds thousands of kilometers from Russia's industrial heartland, making supply chains for equipment and labor expensive and fragile. Still, despite these hurdles, the Pacific Railway is being fast-tracked, both figuratively and literally. And it speaks volumes about Russia's determination to forge new economic links with the East. But trains alone can't power an export revolution. Russia also needs ports, modern, efficient, and equipped to handle icy waters. That's where the Arctic comes in. Let's take a closer look at Russia's maritime ambitions and its plan to reinvent global shipping routes. Imagine cutting the distance between Europe and Asia by up to 40%. That's what the Northern Sea Route, or NSR, promises, and Russia is betting big on it. This maritime passage snakes along Russia's Arctic coastline, running from the Barents Sea near Norway to the Bering Strait. In the past, it was navigable only during summer months and only by ice-hardened vessels. But with the Arctic warming faster than any other region on Earth, Russia sees an opportunity to transform this once icy stretch into a year-round shipping highway. And it's not just theory. In 2023 alone, cargo volumes along the NSR hit a new high, 36 million tons. A major portion of this cargo was liquefied natural gas, or LNG, shipped from the Yamal Peninsula, a burgeoning hub of Arctic energy production. To fully unlock the NSR's potential, Russia is investing in infrastructure along the route, including ports, search and rescue stations, and a new generation of nuclear-powered icebreakers, the only kind that can muscle through thick Arctic ice. But there's a catch: sanctions. Following the Ukraine conflict, Western shipbuilders and marine equipment suppliers pulled out of joint ventures, making it harder for Russia to acquire the specialized vessels needed for Arctic shipping. This has hit key projects like Arctic LNG 2, where production is ramping up, but export capacity is stalled due to a lack of ice-class tankers. To fix this, Moscow is pinning its hopes on the Zvezda shipyard in the Russian Far East. There, engineers are racing to build 15 Arc 7-class LNG tankers, custom-designed for Arctic conditions. The first of these is expected to roll out between August and September 2025. This fleet will play a pivotal role in ensuring Russia can meet its LNG export commitments, even in winter. Each tanker is capable of breaking through ice up to 2.1 meters thick, and with dual-directional engines, they can plow through frozen seas in both forward and reverse. In tandem, new ports like Utreni and Sabeta are being upgraded to accommodate this new class of ships. They'll serve as vital logistics nodes, connecting Siberia's gas fields to consumers in China, Japan, and South Korea. And there's another strategic bonus. The NSR keeps Russian exports far away from choke points like the Suez Canal and the Strait of Malacca. In a world of rising geopolitical tensions and maritime piracy, the Arctic offers a safer, more controllable corridor for Moscow's energy flows. But none of this is easy or cheap. Operating in the Arctic means dealing with extreme cold, constant maintenance, and environmental risks. Accidents in icy waters are exponentially harder to handle, and international insurers often balk at covering Arctic voyages. Yet for Russia, the strategic payoff outweighs the risks. With traditional markets shrinking, the NSR offers not just a route, but a roadmap for economic survival. Now, all this building takes money, a lot of it, and that means partnerships. So, who's actually financing the Far East boom, and what role does China really play? Let's dive into the economic side of the story next. One of the most defining characteristics of Russia's Far East infrastructure expansion is the shift from state-only initiatives to mixed investment models. In the past, massive infrastructure projects relied heavily on direct state funding, often resulting in delays and inefficiencies. But, recent efforts reveal a more nuanced strategy, one that leans into public-private partnerships, regional development funds, and localized governance. Take the Pacific Railway project by El Gogol, for example. Though it's a private rail line, it has received substantial regulatory support from the Kremlin. This actually signifies a broader trend. Moscow is actively courting domestic investors with tax incentives, reduced bureaucratic hurdles, and strategic exemptions from sanctions compliance laws. The idea is to ignite economic momentum through a mixture of private enterprise and government backing. In 2023, the Russian government allocated over 200 billion rubles, about $2.5 billion US dollars, for infrastructure development in the Far East alone. A large chunk of this funding is earmarked for roads, bridges, and utility networks meant to support future industrial zones and trade corridors. This investment isn't just economic, it's political. With declining approval ratings in some Western regions and mounting international pressure, the Kremlin sees Far East development as a way to rally domestic support and showcase resilience. It sends a message. Russia is not retreating under sanctions, it's reconfiguring. But not all perspectives are equally optimistic. The expansion comes with significant consequences for indigenous communities and fragile ecosystems. The Russian Far East is home to diverse indigenous populations like the Evenks, Chukchi, and Nanai, who rely on traditional lifestyles centered around fishing, reindeer herding, and subsistence hunting. Many of these communities have voiced concerns about large-scale mining, deforestation, and pollution. Infrastructure projects, particularly in regions like Yakutia and the Amur Oblast, often intersect with sacred lands and vital ecosystems. For example, the Pacific Railway construction cuts through areas of ecological significance that, honestly, have not been thoroughly studied for long-term environmental impact. Although Moscow has mandated environmental assessments and community consultations for all major developments, critics argue that these processes are rushed or bypassed altogether. Non-governmental organizations like WWF Russia and the Indigenous Peoples Association have raised red flags about the rapid pace of industrialization and its effect on biodiversity. Russia's challenge, therefore, isn't just laying tracks and pouring concrete, it's balancing economic growth with social and environmental responsibility. If Moscow fails to account for these human and ecological costs, the long-term sustainability of the Far East strategy could be at risk. What many don't realize is that Russia's Far East expansion isn't limited to just physical infrastructure. There's also a digital transformation quietly underway. The Ministry for the Development of the Russian Far East and Arctic has launched multiple initiatives to enhance digital connectivity in remote areas, including the rollout of 5G corridors and satellite internet systems. As of early 2024, over 1,200 remote villages in the Far East had been connected to high-speed internet, thanks to partnerships with Russian telecom giants like Rostelecom and international satellite services. The goal is to modernize everything from healthcare and education to logistics and emergency response. New smart logistics centers are being built near ports and rail junctions, enabling real-time monitoring of cargo and predictive analytics for supply chains. These advancements are crucial for improving efficiency, especially in a region plagued by severe winters and unpredictable transport conditions. Digital infrastructure also plays a security role. Enhanced surveillance systems, satellite imaging, and AI-driven analytics help Moscow monitor both economic activity and geopolitical developments across a sparsely populated, yet strategically important territory. This digital pivot demonstrates that Russia sees the Far East not only as a trade hub, but as a future tech frontier. It's a way to signal innovation and self-sufficiency in the face of Western tech sanctions. As Russia deepens its footprint in the Far East, international observers are watching closely, and not always with enthusiasm. The United States, Japan, and South Korea have all expressed concerns about the militarization of Arctic shipping routes and increased Chinese-Russian collaboration in strategic regions. Japan, for instance, has been particularly wary. The country has long-standing territorial disputes with Russia over the Kuril Islands and views expanded Russian military and commercial activity in the region as a direct challenge to its security. The United States, through its Indo-Pacific strategy, is increasing its naval presence in the Pacific and Arctic Oceans, signaling that it too recognizes the strategic importance of these trade routes. Meanwhile, China's Belt and Road Initiative has cautiously welcomed Russia's Far East revival, but Beijing is also hedging its bets by investing in parallel corridors through Central Asia and the Indian Ocean. This means that Russia's Far East expansion is more than a domestic economic strategy. It's a geopolitical maneuver. It alters the balance of power in the Asia-Pacific, reshapes energy alliances, and challenges the West's dominance over global trade routes. So, what does all of this mean in the bigger picture? Russia's Far East infrastructure boom is not just about moving coal or building ports. It's a massive, multi-dimensional campaign aimed at transforming the country's geopolitical and economic identity. From railways slicing through permafrost to Arctic shipping lanes braving the ice, Moscow is betting big on the east. But the road ahead is far from smooth. Labor shortages, environmental concerns, strained foreign partnerships, and logistical nightmares all stand in the way. And while the Kremlin's political will is strong, execution will determine whether these plans become lasting legacies or billion-dollar blunders. Still, one thing is clear. The Far East is no longer a forgotten corner of Russia. It's the new front line in the country's bid to adapt, survive, and even thrive under global isolation. Now we turn the question over to you. Will Russia's Far East truly rise as a global trade powerhouse, or is this all just high-risk ambition in a time of crisis? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking analyses on global trends and strategies.